everyone, and welcome to the Jeff Bullas Show. Today I have with me Matthew Stafford. Now, Matthew is an e-commerce guru and runs a company called Build, Grow, Scale. Over the past 3 decades, Matthew has been an entrepreneurial and successful in building several businesses across various industries, including concrete, bricks and mortar locations, pod, and software-based ventures. He's the managing partner of Build, Grow, Scale and an equity owner of some in-house e-commerce brands. Has knowledge and expertise enabling him to mentor thousands of store owners through paid e-commerce groups and live events. His experience also has allowed him to help hundreds of e-commerce brands scale past the $1 million mark, with many hitting the $10 million mark. To top it off, he's speaking on stages about e-commerce optimization for the past 7 years. Before COVID, Build, Grow, Scale hosted the largest yearly e-commerce focused event in North America, BGS Live. Matthew, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here and look forward to finding out how to grow an e-commerce site, and very intrigued by what you've learned over the years. But on the other topic at the end there, as I mentioning, was COVID did, I suppose, kill a lot of event companies, I think, during the pandemic.
Yeah, for us, that was our lead gen up until that point for our
Mm.
business. And it definitely, I would say that it was a wake-up call to me. And I didn't actually learn it until about 2 years ago. I have a mentor that literally said to me, he goes, I used to always think I was smart. And I used to say that all the time. I would say, I'm really smart and I'm a good worker. I'm a hard worker. And he asked me the question, he goes, well, what if you weren't smart? If you quit saying that, what would that do? And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess if I looked at things from that frame, it would open my mind up and let me um, actually probably see better ideas than what I think I have. And
Mm.
I would say that COVID really taught me that I probably was smart and a hard worker then, because when that went away, it changed the metrics of our business, and I had to learn how to create systems and processes so that everything in a business wasn't reliant on the owners.
Yeah, exactly. So, in other words, essentially providing good processes, and I'm the same as like, okay, I'm good at selling, but then I was really crap at processes, and that means a bunch of things, from losing control of business, not knowing what you're doing, not being able to delegate, and the list goes on, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very humbling, but through those more difficult times is actually where I think the greatest lessons of the business come.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So tell us about how you got into e-commerce. Is there were you intrigued by it? Was it something you think you were sort of like designed to do and called to do in terms of that? What led you to go, I want to be a specialist in e-commerce and online stores?
Yeah, so like you alluded to, I had spent about 20, little over 20 years in the concrete and physical labor area. And we would literally, I was on the road about 200 days a year. We were traveling, pouring big commercial pours for Menards, Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, et cetera, doing parking lots and things like that. And during that time frame, I went to a Tony Robbins event, and he was selling a DVD series called Money Masters.
Hmm.
And up until that point, I'd built that company to about 25 people, and we were probably doing $4 or $5 million a year.
Hmm.
And um, if you included the concrete, probably doing closer to 10 million. But just as far as like minus the materials. And I started listening to those monthly DVDs, and they were people that were selling stuff online. And the very first one that I heard was a guy named 𝓵𝓪𝓻𝓷, who
Yeah.
was making like $50,000 a month selling an ebook on how to teach your parrot to talk. And up until that point, I had never used my computer for anything other than email and blueprints, and because they would email us blueprints, we would do estimates and ship them back and stuff, but never ever to make a sale. And I thought, wow, that's really intriguing. And by the third month of those programs, I'm like, I'm going to try to sell something online. And there was a site called Teespring, which is where you could basically create a design on a t-shirt, put it up, and then sell or run ads to it and sell it.
Mm.
And for some reason, the first one that I tried, it was kind of humorous. And I, I'm trying to think of the exact one. Oh yeah, Schmidt happens. And so what I did is I took everybody with the last name of Schmidt and I put on the shirt Schmidt happens and literally targeted everybody that had that last name. And probably within 3 hours, I'd sold about $10,000 worth of t-shirts. And I was like, oh my word, this is crazy. And that shirt, I ended up doing several other ones. I put them on like little kid shirts and it said, I'm a little Schmidt. And just a whole bunch of funny sayings around that last name. And so I ended up doing about 100 grand with that. I thought this is actually really crazy. I did this part-time, goofing around. I think I could do this full time and I don't have to travel and live on the road 200 days a year.
Mm.
And so I set a goal to be all done, running the concrete business within 5 years. And it was almost to the month, 5 years that I had sold the concrete business, two brick and mortar locations that we had that were like salons, in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area. And I was full time online. And so that first 2 years, we sold about $15 million worth of t-shirts. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to stick to online work.
Hmm. Yeah, it's so if you hadn't gone to that conference and you hadn't started, I suppose, educating yourself,
I would have
then
never heard about it,
no,
never even known. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I suppose it's being open to different ideas. Like I said, if you think you're too smart and too clever for your own boots, then the problem is that you'll get a smack in the face eventually because chance and randomness will actually get in the way of life.
Yeah, and I really could have said I'm too busy, like, because I was too busy. But it intrigued me enough that I actually paid one of the people that worked for me, I paid their little brother to help me do designs because I couldn't, I had the ideas, but I couldn't make the designs. And
Mm.
so I paid him to make them, and I took that chance of like, okay, I've spent several $100s, bought some ads, and figured this stuff out. But then once it started working, I was like, oh man, this is crazy. I can make a full-time income really fast with one person instead of 25 employees and having to worry about whether it's sunny or rain or concrete trucks getting stuck in traffic or any of these other things. I was like, this is a different life.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned concrete. Like you see some people building houses and concrete trucks don't turn up, or the second one doesn't turn up after you started the pour. That
So
must
we
be,
did
yeah, that must
we
be
did
really
large
stressful.
yeah, we did large commercial pours. So the largest we ever did was 1,700 yards. So that's a concrete truck. It took us 12 hours. It's a concrete truck every 4 minutes for 12 hours straight.
Right.
And so when you start doing the math, like, yeah, if they have a traffic jam or they don't get there for 15 minutes, you have a 200-foot joint that's getting hard and you got to chop it off and refresh it and do a bunch of other stuff. It's a pain in the butt.
Mm.
And so nothing that I've ever done online has been even close to the kind of work that we had to do when we were in physical labor.
Yeah, well, my dad was a plumber, so I've done some heavy, I suppose, digging by hand and other stuff. So, but I discovered I didn't like getting my hands dirty, so I obviously wasn't designed to be a plumber. So,
Yeah, so I'll kind of give you the transition from that business. We sold, like I said, about $15 million in t-shirts in about a 2 year period. And I really thought, man, I'm amazing. I can do this. I'm going to be so good at it. And so I started a Shopify site selling kitchen products. And I was really good at driving traffic. That's how I had sold so many t-shirts. And within 30, 40 days, we were selling a couple hundred units of these kitchen slicers, and we added avocado tools and stuff like that. And I really thought, like, this is so easy. Why doesn't everybody do it? And then about 3 months in, the sales kept getting worse, getting worse, getting worse. And then finally we were struggling. We were probably losing money every day for a little while. And I saw a guy promoting, hey, learn how to do Google Analytics for $1,000. I'll give you 6 coaching calls. And I thought, oh, well, I want to look at the analytics of our site. Maybe I had no idea what it was going to turn into, but so I gave him the $1,000 and did the 6 calls. And by the end of those 6 calls, I had our site, instead of selling 300, 400 units a day, and it had gone down to less than 50, back up to 400, 500 units a day, because I could take the data that was happening on the site, go back and fix the site and make everything else work better.
Mm.
And that was really how BGS got started. I had a business partner. We parted ways about 3 years ago, but he was really good at teaching, and I was really good at figuring out the back end strategies of how to make it work.
Mm.
And so together, I was working on my site and then some friends of mine who I had sold t-shirts with, and we started really getting some really good results consistently. And we turned it into what BGS is today, which is where we essentially partner with different brands and do all of their split testing, data and analytics, and help them scale their business.
Yeah. So let's talk about traffic, because we are in the middle of another transition where we're leaning from, I suppose, a social web to an AI web.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean it's either or, but and then on top of that, then we had the search web, then we had the social web, now we've got the AI web. So driving traffic is becoming more of a challenge, and we're watching organic traffic, whether it's from social or whether it's from search. Um, so, what have you learned about driving traffic in a cost-effective way? Because I'd be intrigued. Number one, how did you go from 50 to 500 in terms of recovering? Was that because you optimized content to improve your ranking on search?
Yeah,
Yeah,
nope, I've never been good at SEO. I have people on our team now that are good at it, but no, mine was always getting the eyeballs to the site. And my opinion is, and it's not always that popular, that traffic is not the problem.
mhm,
Everybody thinks it is. The truth of the matter is most websites convert less than 2%.
yep,
So that means if you get 100 visitors, 98 people who were interested in what you sell raised their hand, clicked on an ad, and came, left without buying anything.
mm,
And everybody's mentality is, oh, I need more traffic. I need more traffic. Like, no, if you get 2 more of those 98 people that left, you just doubled your business on the exact same ad spend.
yeah, yeah,
So now you can buy way more traffic than your other people can, because they're only getting 2 sales per 100. You're getting 4. That changes your business metrics, and now you can take market share. And so it's never been for me the focus on traffic once I started working in the data and analytics. It's how do I make the site so good that people want to buy or give you their lead information and let you market to them. And that's really been what we've dialed in over the last 8, 9 years by saying no to everything else.
mm. As in no to what do you mean by everything else?
We don't run, yeah, we don't run paid media. We deal with a lot of paid media agencies that do that. Obviously, the sites that we're on, they have SEO and all the rest of that. Our main focus is once the person lands on that page, we do everything we can to get them to spend money or have a conversion event, which means, enter their email or do whatever so that then you can market to them or get on a phone call or whatever.
Right. So are you concentrating more on physical products in terms of your e-commerce focus?
We did for the first 6 or 7 years, and what I realized over the last 2 years is that that was actually it limited us a lot because if you think about it, if you have a $50 product and we're selling 1,000 of them, and I come in and help you sell an extra 50%, now you sold 500, you've only made an extra 25,000 or 250,000 after your cost of goods and ads and all the rest. The 2 or 3% that you can give me is very minimal. Um, and so I actually started working with some companies that sell digital products, and their cost is literally just ads. And so if you're working and getting it to convert on a digital product, if they sell 1,000, they can give us a much larger percentage. And so
Mm.
it kind of pigeonholed us, like when we only did digital product or only did physical products for a while. Now we do both.
Right. So do you specialize more in what we call what you just described as where you help sell a product, is where you take a cut of selling their product? Is that an affiliate, or you're just helping them and you take an equity position or profit share or both?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do profit share. We don't take an equity position in the company unless we're going to own a good chunk of it.
Right.
Um, Most people, they're happy with, this is what I say. Most people are happy spending future money. They don't like to spend now money because their now money is already accounted for. If I can help them make more, they're willing to part with that because they know in the future they're going to have, it'll be allocated correctly.
Right. So tell us about your business model then, because it sounds like you've actually maybe you basically get paid on only when you increase sales for different e-commerce sites. Is that correct?
Yeah, it started that way. Now it's got to the point where they really have to be doing about 200,000 a month for it to make sense for us to partner with them.
Yep.
And so we don't necessarily do it over and above the 200,000 because we'll put 5 people on their team. There'll be a front end developer, a back end developer, a Google Analytics guy, quality assurance, and then what we call an RO, which is revenue optimization rather than conversion rate optimization. And the reason why I say that is because we can make your conversion rate better by running a sale. Your conversion rate is going to go up. But what we really care about is revenue. How do you make more money that's profitable? And
Right.
that's done through a really, really good site that's easy for people to use that they want to come back and buy again and again. So by the time you clean up your site, you really end up having a higher repeat, a higher average order value, higher conversion rate. That's really what we care about. So we're looking at the site very holistically rather than just right at the point of sale.
Right. So let's talk about conversion. What are some of the key elements? You go there and go, you don't need more traffic. You just need to you need to get your conversion rate from 2% to 4% and or whatever you can reach. All right. So
Yeah, so
canvas it.
I'm gonna give you if the listeners actually do this, there won't be a single one that doesn't make more money. And I will tell you, we have run at this point probably thousands of tests, definitely hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tests.
Right.
Nothing has ever been more impactful than this one thing. And so every single engagement that we start, the very first thing that we do is we put a pop-up on the thank you page that says, what was the one thing that almost made you not buy?
Right. Okay.
And so somebody that just spent money with you and that uh, trusts you enough to have pulled out their credit card, you ask them what almost made them not buy. They will tell you what they didn't like or what was confusing or what caused friction or what they didn't understand. And I can tell you over the last 3 or 4 years, that one question has probably been responsible for 6 of our 10 biggest wins, which literally ends up being millions of dollars in revenue across the different brands that we work with. And
Okay.
so getting that information from your customer is invaluable. And 9 times out of 10, we're really good at looking at a site. They would tell us stuff that we didn't notice.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Because they come with an outsider's eyes rather than insider's eyes.
Yeah.
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 So driving traffic then, it's all about paid ads for you guys. Is that correct?
Um, No, because the sites that we work on, they usually have a couple pronged approach. Some have influencers, some have paid ads, some do SEO. All traffic's not equal for sure. They have repeat buyers. So no, our goal is the better the site works, the better all of that works. And for sure, once they become a customer, how you handle your customer service makes a huge difference as to whether they're going to come back and keep buying too.
Yeah. Okay. So in other words, repeat customers. So what about, okay, so one strategy is to actually increase sales is once you've got that loyalty, you've created trust. Um, because gaining a new customer, the numbers are something like it costs you, 8 to 10 times more to get a new customer as to sell to your existing customer. So
Yep.
I don't know the exact number, but it's multiples. So in other words, basically upselling, okay, either on the sales page or getting them to buy later. In other words, you want to get the average sale of $200 a year instead of $50 a year, for example. How do
Yeah.
you achieve that?
Again, that will be through a better experience on the site for sure.
Mm,
I'll give you two different examples. One thing, if you think about it, I always ask the site owner because they always go, "Oh, we'll give you 10% off your first purchase." And it always creates a hassle for them down the line because people will buy from them multiple times, put in different emails, etc. And I said to them exactly what you said. You realize that a repeat buyer, you don't have the acquisition cost anymore that you do on the brand new buyer that you're giving a 10% discount to.
mm,
If I bought from you already and I liked your product and I came back and you said, oh, only first time buyers get 10% off, I feel like, why wouldn't you treat me better than someone who's never bought from you if I'm already a customer? And so I think that that puts a negative connotation in people's minds. And so what we try to do is find ways to reward people to come back and buy again and again more than what you would to acquire a new customer, because over time that person's way more valuable. And what we found is that by doing that, the success, the lifetime success, when things do get tough, those people have a set of loyal buyers that come back and buy again and again and again. We have different sites that we work on. They have 21, 22 times repeat purchases from particular clients. And I think that that comes from the fact that they treat their customer a little different and understand the lifetime value of the customer, not the first time acquisition.
yeah. And you only have to look at, banks and mortgages. Um, big incentives to get a really low interest rate when they start. Then the interest rates come down, and then the loyal customer uh, can't get the rate that the new customers are going, hang on, I'm going to spend about 500,000 interest on you in the next 20 years, or it might be 1.5 million in interest.
Yeah.
So let's piss our customers off that we already have. But I suppose that the side of that coin, the other side of that coin is that it's hard to move to a different bank and get the mortgage done because of all the paperwork. So it's much stickier.
Yeah, yeah. But buying physical products and even, digital products there's not that much stickiness. I do a lot of podcasts and people ask me like, what's one consistent thing that you see across these really successful brands? And I will tell you that over the last 9 or 10 years, every single one of them that have hit that 10 million, $20 million mark. In all reality, not the $1 million mark, because a lot of people have done that too, a couple hundred of our students. Any of them that have hit that $10 million mark, they are maniacal about customer service.
Mm,
Like that part of their business is a non-negotiable, and it's never done poorly ever.
mm,
And they communicate with their customers. And so that's the one thing that's not different with any one of those really successful brands is that they take care of their customer. And over time, they they do build a brand. 9 times out of 10, people, oh, my brand, oh, my brand, my brand. I'm like, you don't have a brand. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, if you turn off ads, are you going to stay in business? And they're like, no. So then you don't have a brand. A brand is people that know, like, and trust you and buy your product without you having to
mm.
drive them to your site. And the way that you make a brand is by making a lot of sales and taking good care of people so that they come back again and again.
Yeah. So let's lean into sales pages and conversions. So we talked about that improving your page by asking that using that pop-up.
Yep.
That is a lovely, simple tactic, which you've said 6 out of 10 improve. What are some of the other
Yep.
things you can improve your conversion rate? Obviously, user experience can be quite complicated depending on the product, but what
Yep.
are some tips you can provide that you've learned over the years to improve the sales page conversion rate? Once they show up, you've spent the money on the traffic, they show up, and like I said, most conversion, you know, 2% is considered pretty normal, average. How
Yep.
could how could you double it? I'm not saying guarantee, but what are the
Yeah.
other
Yeah. Yeah.
tactics? Yeah.
Yep. So I'll give you two or three tactics that they can apply that will go through the different stores or through the different parts of the website. I believe that each page has a specific purpose. Um, and so when you get to the checkout, you're asking them for their personal information, their email, their address, their phone number, things like that. And I was reading a book by Robert Cialdini, and this is 5, 6 years ago. And in there, he talks about an experiment that he did where these people were in line and like 10 people came and asked if they could cut. They only allowed 2 people in. The other 8 people, they told them no. Then the next 10 people that came gave them a reason, and it was just a made up reason. My kids will be late for school, or I'm running behind, or whatever. And then all of a sudden, 8 out of 10 people were allowed to cut just because they gave them a reason. And then, so I thought, we're tracking the form field errors on a checkout, and we get the most errors where the email is and where the phone number is. The address is obviously, they don't want to send it to the wrong address, but they're not giving us their good email or their phone number. And so we wanted to improve that to try to improve the conversion of the page. And so what we did is we changed the text that's in that form field. Instead of saying email, we say email required for order confirmation.
Hmm.
And the reason why we do that is because the order confirmation email is literally opened 85% of the time. It's the most opened email you'll ever send.
Yeah.
And by doing that, we reduce the form field errors in the email by 279%. So 3 times less errors by putting in why we wanted their email. What we also realized without trying to do this, we were trying to reduce the number of errors. We actually started recovering our abandoned carts at a much higher level because people were giving us a good marketing email to go ahead and get them to come back and buy.
Yeah.
Uh, and then so that worked so well. And this is a little before SMS became so big, but SMS is actually now one of the largest ways to recover revenue on your site. And so now in the phone, we put phone required for shipping notification. And who doesn't want to know when their product ships? And so again, we reduced the number of errors, and we've had as much as a 17% lift on the checkout page just by putting the form field text in there telling them why we're asking for that information.
Right. That's very cool. So, with this, okay, so you're dealing with a digital product, for example, that's a different thing. But I suppose you
Yep.
could change, but I suppose you could change the reason in that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And we've come up with ways.
Yeah.
Like we want to send you a PDF or, you know, Yeah, there's multiple different ways, but 100%. You just give them a reason. A lot of times the reason doesn't matter. We've definitely found that if you make it a reason that's congruent, then it works better.
Right. Yeah. That's very, very cool. So 279% and SMS was how much you said? About 17, was it?
No, that was a 17% lift on the entire page by having changing those two fields.
Wow.
Yeah, and if you think about it, that's where the transaction happens. So we've had other really big lifts like that, but it comes from uh, a special demographic. Like on a digital product, they do about 60 million a year, and we asked that question: "What's one thing that almost made you not buy?" Well, they had a really long VSL, and so out of the 570 responses we got, literally 526 of them were the videos too long. And the owner said, "No, we can't shorten the video. We've tried shorter videos and it ruins the conversion." And so we thought about it. It took us a day. I asked them, I said, "How do you watch videos when you're watching them on YouTube?" And they go, "What do you mean?" I said, "Do you speed them up?" And they go, "Oh, yeah, yeah, like 1.2, 1.5." I said, "Do people have the ability to speed your video up? Maybe not, get the buy button till the end, but can they speed it up?" And he goes, "No." And so we sped it up and they got a 10% lift. So
Hmm.
for them, that was a $6 million win for the end of the year by literally just taking the information that the customer was giving them and instead of discounting it, finding a way that you could make the customer experience better.
Because that's the thing, isn't it? Because people's attention span is basically less than a goldfish now. I think the goldfish is
Yeah.
ranked at
Yeah.
9 seconds, and the average Gen X, Gen Z, and most of us fact is about 8 seconds. So um,
Yeah. I think people would be shocked. If they saw how simple a lot of the stuff that we do is. It's not complicated.
mm,
Most of the time, the first 5 or 6 months of us working on sites, we're removing stuff. We're making the site simpler, easier, less busy, less cognitive load. And that's where you'll get your biggest wins, not by adding new things to the site to make it sell more.
right. Okay, let's move on to some other ways of user experience and basically increasing conversion rates. One is testimonials. How important are they, whether it's digital product or whether it's a physical product?
They're super important. So reviews matter a lot.
Hmm.
In fact, Amazon did a test, and at 200 reviews, it literally doubled the conversion rate on the page.
Right.
So our goal is, and we've seen similar, not necessarily doubled the conversion, but we've seen similar results when we get up into a decent number of reviews that the page converts much better. So people really don't want to be the guinea pig. They want to know that enough other people have chosen to do business with you and you've taken care of that. And another really interesting fact that most people don't realize is the highest converting reviews on your site are 2-star and below. And everybody's like, "No, that can't be true." But the truth of the matter is, if you only push 5-star reviews, people don't trust you. If you
Yeah.
push the lower reviews and have a response and that you've taken care of the customer, those reviews actually convert much higher than the site average many times. And so our goal is we definitely want to push, and we're strategic about it. Like, "Oh, it took 2 weeks to get my product," but the person says, "Hey, we're really sorry. We'd love to send you some free product or whatever." Taking care of that and having that review on your site will get you a lot more sales. And so, we're always trying to figure out why things win. And I just believe that overall, people don't expect you to be perfect. They
Hmm.
know that you're going to make some mistakes, but if you take care of your mistakes, then they're like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, they're human. They make mistakes." If you push all 5-star reviews, they go, "Yeah, they're lying or they're not telling us about their mistakes."
Yep. So what do you mean by push 5-star reviews in terms of their
Oh,
feature?
well, when someone leaves those reviews, you have the ability to make them live on the site or to not publish them. And
Right.
so, yeah. And so what I'm saying is basically when someone leaves that review, we think it's a good idea to publish it and take care of the customer and respond to them, and make sure that it's handled.
Right. So then there's testimonials. In other words, let's say that you've got an influencer that might be promoting your e-commerce site, for example. Um, is it good to use them as provide testimonials in terms of their use of the product because they've used it? Is how powerful is that?
So we've tested that a lot of times, and typically, an influencer's testimonial does not really move the needle very much.
Yep.
I think people in general don't trust it
Yep.
as um, they're giving an unbiased opinion,
Yep.
where a customer does. We certainly have sites that drive a lot of sales from influencers, but it's not typically, they're not trying to present it as, oh, I love this product, da da da, because of
But
their using it.
yeah, they're seen as not trusted because everyone knows they're being paid.
Yeah.
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 Okay. All right. There's some really great tips for everyone there. Um, so we've got a bit of a hard finish for both of us here today. So, what are some of the top things you've learned about, you know, 3 things, 5 things, if you can tell us that, to increase in e-commerce? You've listed, traffic's one thing, but conversion is actually better. What's 3, 4, 5 things actually you would recommend on top of the ones we've already covered that you think are really, really important to get an online e-commerce site, whether it's digital or physical product, really, you know, growing?
Yep. Yeah. So I would say, I think that people that have a niche store does way better than a general store. And what I mean by that is find a problem to solve and have that be the entire thing that your product line takes care of.
Yep.
People that have general stores, they tend to fail a lot more because it takes so much more money to get traffic and consistent sales. The other thing that I would say is a principle that works really well, and it's what we look at every single page of every single site that we look at, is called the hierarchy of focus, which means every single page should have one most important action. And that's not just an e-commerce site, that's any website. And then a secondary action that people can take. But the main thing is you want them, if it's add to cart or if it's proceed to checkout or if it's continue to shipping, you want the button or the next most important action to stand out above everything else. And then the last thing that I would say is a lot of people, when you land on your homepage, a lot of people go, oh, well, we drive everybody to the product page. I'm like, yeah, but they still go to your homepage to see who you are, to know, like, and trust you. So your homepage is not designed to sell. It's literally designed to build trust and then give them easy navigation to what they're looking for and why should they do business with you. What is your unique value proposition? If you sell ropes, why is your rope better than everyone else's? And that's where the testimonials, that's where the companies that you've done business with, that's where that stuff goes, not necessarily deeper into the site, because we're always trying to enter the conversation that the client or the customer is having at that point on the website. And
Hmm.
if you're at the add to cart, what are some things that are going through your mind? Well, is it American made? How quick does it ship? What are the materials? That's not, those are the things that you want to cover, not what company that you dealt with. Because at this point, they're already beyond that. They're trying to decide whether this is for them.
Mm. Yeah. Well, that's really, really good because I think in the past with e-commerce decades ago, people just turned up, buy our product, and you went to the homepage, you say, where do I buy?
Yeah.
Where's the sales
Yeah.
page?
Yeah.
Instead, then what happened as everyone started putting together a dedicated sales page, which they drove
Yeah.
traffic to. But you're saying that's really important that for them to go to the sales page and see that one, I suppose your homepage and say, is this congruent? Are these guys experts at what they do?
Yeah. What's their unique value proposition?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome. So this is one question I ask all my guests: is that if you had all the money in the world, Matthew, what would you do every day that would bring you deep joy and happiness?
Man. I actually really like helping people succeed at business because I've had some really good successes and I've had some um, really colossal failures. And so I understand both ends of the spectrum. I really, really like problem solving, and I would do it in many cases for free if I didn't need the money or if I didn't, want the money for the business. I would help people figure out how to do that
Right.
because when you have a website that works really well, I've just watched it change people's lives. They
Mm,
have time to be a better dad. They have time to be a better mom. They get out of a job that they hate. I love what I do, and I get up excited to do it each day.
mm, that's great. Which is most of the answers I get from entrepreneurs is that there's not that exact answer, but that type of answer, in that
Yeah,
they're doing it because it's not a job they have to do to put food on the table. It's a calling that they have been called to do because that's their strengths and it's also their passion. So,
yeah,
and you do enjoy cycling, which is another thing I think that maybe puts a smile on your face.
yeah, yeah. I actually love cycling. If I could only choose one type of exercise, like based on how your question was, then I would definitely say it would be cycling.
Yeah. Well, I try to mix up a little bit because I'm a bit older now and I like to need to keep stretching a bit. So I went to a Pilates class, but it's just I call it the Pilates transformer machine. I call it a modern torture machine, and yeah, I cycling is my gig. It used to be running, but and the endorphins. I'm addicted to the endorphins, which take a little longer to show up now. But so
Yeah.
Matthew, thank you very much for sharing your insight. It was amazing. I've learned a lot, and yeah, we're in the middle of building a digital product, and so we can take a lot of that because we've got a good audience, but we're not that good at e-commerce yet, but we're getting better. So
Oh, well, awesome. I'd love to help if you need someone to look it over, let me know.
I might need that. We're in the middle of. I think we're just trying to make sure we got to try and make the offer compelling, and then number two, then is the next part is then getting driving traffic and conversion. So, but yeah, I might send you an email for just cast your eyes out when it's not so embarrassing.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew, and have a great evening. Okay, for you, isn't it? So, what time is it there?
It's 5:48 p.m.
Okay, right. So
Yeah.
we're nearly at 9 a.m. here in Australia. So, and
Okay.
you're in Florida, is that correct?
Yes. Yep. I'm in St. Pete, just south of Tampa, about 15 minutes.
I've been in St. Petersburg, but it was in Russia.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Different place. All
Thank you.
right. Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you.